Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because I know I get jacked for every single time Greg sends like a new he sends me a message on Facebook of like the new thing he just got in, and I'm like, oh, and I also have to put on my like editor hat every once in a while too, where I'm like, oh, that's awesome, but why is he shocked? He's supposed to be happy, right?
See, with that, not to get too far into the editor stuff, because of course we'll be talking about that in the next hour, but I would almost say you need to give yourself two big looks at a piece of art. First, just look at it as a fan. Just take that moment and as a fan and as a parent, because you are the father of this script, or mother, or whatever you want to be called, people. We're all inclusive here, but you are the parental unit of that, and so you get to look at that and go, holy shit, and just love it and just enjoy it. And then you get to do what most parents don't get to do, and you get to go, that's shit, I'm changing it, let's fix this, let's do that.
You're a mistake.
Parents, we don't get to do that as often. Merry Spitemas, fuckers.
You filthy animals.
So, yeah.
What else are you going to do for this Spitemas? Greg, we should change the image. I wish I could like edit it in there and just change it from, you know, Kyron to like
right.
Hashtag Spitemas. Greg, do it on Instagram. Take a picture of it, make it a block, cross it off, and write Spitemas.
I mean, we have like 20 minutes left. I'm not sure it's worth it, but I'm okay.
Right. We've tangented off, and we're still back on Spitemas. I'm all about yelling at Facebook.
Yeah, you're not done with it. That's the hashtag of the day.
This like, it's funny because earlier we were talking about the Facebook like UI, and it's like they changed it so drastically, and they did what Windows 8 did, which is why it failed. They made a desktop platform look like a mobile one. So it's like, oh, isn't it so convenient that the thing that used to be all right here is now here and here and here? It's like, no, it was very convenient when they were all right here. That's when it was convenient. They were this far apart instead of 20 inches apart because it looks nicer. Like that's good. That's good UI, not good UX. Like I'm not having a fun time.
Yeah,
it looks really clean. But like, yeah, it's a pain in the ass. And then they're like, what if we just took the thing you've used for the last 5 years and ripped it apart and threw it all over the place, and then made a whole document that you had to read for each of the individual items on each of the individual pages. And we made them hard to find and sometimes out of date, even though we're the editors and the writers. Like, oh, Facebook.
So Facebook groups.
Yeah. Speaking of, you have a Facebook group for writers and artists. And it's super user-friendly.
I'm going to stop using a bunch of those because after I do that thing that I said like a while ago, because I'm going to tag like each group for whatever Kickstarter we're doing next. And
Greg, are these all our groups?
What?
Why are there so many groups attached to this page?
I don't know.
20 of them.
I'm probably part of them.
But it says like they're linked. What does that even mean? What does this mean? Where's the... You know what's crazy? I should be able to look at my groups, like the 2 that we have actually attached to the page, and they're not filtered out. There's like, not even a filter button, Facebook.
Well, so what that allows is that allows your Facebook page, like your group or whatever page, to be able to directly post in those groups, be a member of those groups, be connected to other people's publishing platforms, all that kind of shit. So there's a sort of usefulness in it.
I know what it's for, but like under the group page, there's supposed to be like your groups, and there's a list of 20, and I don't even see ours. Oh, there they are. They're on the bottom. That's super helpful. It's after all of the other ones.
Probably because you guys joined them first.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we have, like, because we have the SeerNova Comics writers and SeerNova Comics artists, which, you know, it'd be cool if we could use those a little more. I think in the future, I actually might want to use them more because Greg and I have been talking about getting a package together where we can actually offer comic creation for like one-off gigs for things like so my brother, like I said before, my brother's in the music production business, and so we have artists that come through here, and I actually chatted with a couple of them. Once they found out I had a comic book company, they're like, oh, like, you know, you make comics, like I've always wanted a comic made for blank, right? And a bunch of them, they want it almost as promotional items for their music. So we actually got a whole we got all our numbers down, a rough range of our prices depending on the artists we work with, the writers we work with, you know, colors, etc., so that we can then go to an artist and go, hey, what are you looking for? And now that I know what you want, here's the price range what I can get you, and here's the artistry I can pull off with that price range. And even if it's a 6-page comic, it would be amazing for like a musician to sell that with their, you know, music.
Well, so Cthulhu Invades Oz had a $1,000 tier. We did sell one of them, and with that $1,000 tier, you got a 4-page story with one of our pencilers, one of our colorists, one of our writers, one of our letterers, and one of our editors. And you get to pick your team from the people assembled, and then you get to have a finished 4-page story. And some people were like, $1,000, that's a lot. And you're like, when you break it down, it's not an awful lot. And what's even bigger about that is that all those people in there, if you guys watched Cthulhu Invades Oz, you'll see that everybody involved, or at least like 90% of the people involved, we pushed that motherfucker when it was on Kickstarter. So it also will make you money because all of us are now involved in your book. And so, like, let's say, you know, you're creating the Ace comic book, whatever the fuck. And you're like, I'm doing the Ace comic book. I just saw some Ace hardware thing over here, but you're doing the Ace comic book. Yeah, right? That's how writers think. We look at something, we're like, I'm going to make that. So you're making the Ace comic book. You've already created your book. Now you want a little 4-page story in the back. You get your whole team together. We make it. Now we're a part of the team. So now all of us, when you hit Kickstarter, you've got, you know, 5 or 6 more people, all who, if this is your first book, have bigger names, or most likely have bigger names and bigger audiences than you, who can push that book and aim their audiences at it. So really, that $1,000, there's a good chance you could get that back just on your Kickstarter, you know? So I thought that was pretty fucking cool. And I think that if you're able to pull something like that off, whether you add 4 pages onto somebody else's story, or you're a part of somebody else's book or whatever.
You just paused.
Yeah.
You said if you can pull it off with a 4-page story or whatever, and then it like froze.
Yeah. Internet.
That was pretty much it. I just kind of droned off at that point.
Yeah, but basically that's the whole thing. Like I figured out roughly for a 4-page, the cheapest we could do would be something like 600. I think that was, but like again, that's like really like we have a wide range. Like it goes way higher than that for even just a 4-page, depending on what we're looking at getting done. But yeah, we want to be able to like go to somebody who maybe they don't want to get into the comic book business, but maybe they want a comic book for promotional purposes. And I think that first off, like people do dig comics, and if you have like a favorite artist, even if they're like a small time artist, maybe they don't get 1 million streams on Spotify, but maybe they get like 100,000 streams. They're like a smaller artist, but they make money on their streams. It'd be really cool if you could buy one of their comics where like they're a little character in a 4-page story. Like I think that would be incredible. And like, so that's kind of, the stuff that we're looking at trying to get done, so that ironically, like with our comics, we give them away for free. So maybe we can design and build comics for other people. And that's where part of our income comes, because for them, like the comic might not even be used to make money. It could just be used as a promotional thing for maybe like their shows, right? Or it can be sold as like merch at a show. Like, hey, glad you came to the show. Here's a comic book we have, right? It's like, oh, it's this little thing. Yeah, sure. $5, whatever.
Yeah.
Exactly. I concur.
I don't have a lot more to add to it, but yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. So yeah, that's definitely something that we want to eventually get together with like all the artists, writers, or the writers, editors, artists, inkers, colorists, and letterers that we have in our group, and basically like throw that out there, because we also want it so that if someone comes to us and they're like, I have an idea in my head, we also want to be able to go, okay, here's people at a price range and here's their artwork. Which one do you like? And then go like, so then we have a variety too, because like I think that's the thing that we kind of built up over time now, like with SeerNova Comics, is like we just have a ton of people we can pull from, because we've just built like a really awesome community of artists and, you know, creators.
Yeah.
And being able to pull that together and potentially like build profit in there by reaching outside of just the comic book world. I think that's a really cool part of what we're trying to get done.
No, absolutely. Is Orion Zulu, Ronnie from Heavens Decoded, is he a part of your platform? Like, is he under the SeerNova umbrella?
Yep.
So that means I'm technically under your umbrella too.
Technically, I guess. I know Sean said something about maybe if he wanted to add Belial to it, but it's all definitely up to everybody that's a part of whatever comic. We don't ever make a okay, let's not say ever. We don't make a profit off of anybody's comic that's on there.
Like eventually, with enough people, we would hope to make a profit.
Yeah,
but it's like our idea is never to like.
Right.
It's to like we want to make money in other ways, and while we're building our audience, we want to just expose our the creators that work with us in the beginning. Like we want to be able to expose them to our same audience, because the same thing we talked with Frank about was like, you know, if you get enough people in a room, they're not going to all like your comic, but they might like one of all of the comics we've now brought to the room. And that's kind of the thing, is like we want to build a giant room with a lot of variety of comics and then bring a variety of people and go, hey, now you can find what you're looking for. Because yeah, like if there's people that like, you know, superhero comics, well, we've got a catalog of superhero comics, and in those superhero comics there's different groups of like different styles of artistry, there's different storytelling, all that stuff. So like by having you know, having different genres, different artists, different creators, we now have this library that we can pull more people towards and then filter it out that way. And instead of going the Marvel route and spending millions of dollars on ads, we bring a ton of people to a more niche area, but ironically, they don't have to be a niche audience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Chuck, you're muted.
Please muted. You're muted.
Yes.
Yeah. Because like that's the thing. It's like if you get, you know, my big thing is if 7 billion people know you exist, you only need a penny from each of them to become a millionaire, right? Like, you know, so if we can get enough audience in a room, then you can get enough of your true fans to the right creations, whether it's video games, whether it's music, whether it's comic books, whether it's, you know, film, you know, whatever it is. We want to be able to make this like all like we want to make a platform for new creators to be able to come into and immediately have this audience available to them, which would be you know, fantastic. And that's not necessarily where we want to make our money. Like we can make it in other directions. Like that's more of like the thing that Greg and I talked about from basically the very beginning. Once we realized how difficult it was to actually make money with your comics, we're like, okay, well, while we build our stuff, then we should be, you know, reaching down and around and helping other people with that same problem, which is obscurity and getting people to know you exist.
I love that SeerNova Comics is considering the reach around as a very important part of what's going on. It's like, we want to be the reach around of comics. I'm like, I should have considered that myself. That would have been really good. Because I would like to be the reach around of comics.
Well, that's going to be your tagline.
Well, listen, our artists come first.